Digimon for quite some time now has gained a reputation for having poor games, and for a good reason. Their video games have sucked. This is in contrast to the anime, which has gained an interesting cult following of nerds, ranging from wannabe cyberpunks to furries to anime fans at cons who have plushies of characters from Adventure, and for a good reason. The Digimon anime was unusually high quality considering the target demographic of it. Its premise was ahead of its time, and Digimon Tamers in particular ended up being a pretty good deconstruction of the toyetic mon craze popular in the early 2000s, while sticking to the original show's target demographic, and without feeling like some nerd's bad mature fan film attempt, or like bad fan fiction. The Digimon video games, however, have just sucked with few exceptions. On one hand, they've never been technically impressive, and that's something that can be overlooked to an extent for a TV show tie-in game. On the other hand, however, their gameplay ranges from generic to absolutely horrible, and with rare exceptions, it's never fun. Digimon World was an example of this, and there's a reason that reviewers who weren't hardcore Digimon fans trashed it when it first came out. When Digimon World came out in the USA, Pokemon Red and Blue had come out a year or two later, and Gold and Silver had already been out in Japan and was right around the horizon for America. These games were big sellers, got high scores from critics, and were the benchmark for any game that had a remotely similar concept. Now, the Pokemon franchise featured traditional role-playing game gameplay that gave you the controls, allowing you to issue commands to your Pokemon. This meant that you'd feel like you were a Pokemon trainer immersed in the game, issuing orders that your party members would follow, and it fit right in with the concept of the game. Some Digimon games have also used role-playing game-style gameplay such as Digimon World 2, Digimon World 3, and the Digimon Story games, including last year's Sleuth, which was released this year in America. And of course, the Digimon games aren't the only games to use this type of turn-based battle system either. Games like Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross, and Shin Megami Tensei also use this same type of battle system, where you select which moves you want your characters to use during a turn, and each game will offer different variations of this battle system. For example, Shin Megami Tensei has its Pick 3 system, and Final Fantasy has its active time battle system, but each game will do its own thing with the battle system, and this means that they'll stick with something that works while improving on it or changing it in their own way. Digimon World, however, didn't do this, and instead it was based on the virtual pet lineup, and the gameplay came straight out of it. Instead of having a sense of control over your party, you just told them to do something, which isn't rewarding and can be very frustrating. The game featured VPET style gameplay instead of RPG style gameplay, and to make matters worse, the game suffered from a chronic problem that Digimon video games seem to suffer from, which is poor balancing. Instead of being able to run through the game, you had to grind up your character, and you had to do it in a specific way that reeked of the virtual pet line that Digimon was based on. I don't blame you if you forgot Digimon was originally a virtual pet line. It's about as shocking as finding out that Ministry was originally a synth pop band, or that the Beastie Boys started out as a hardcore punk group. Unlike the TV series, there was barely any storyline in Digimon World, and the game was so bland with its atmosphere and presentation that it's about as depressing as going out to eat at Bob Evans. With the exception of the Ryo games, the crossover fighting games, and the MMOs, however, nearly all of the Digimon games have done their own thing without being associated with the anime whatsoever. And of course, in the end though, Digimon World just wasn't that good of a game. I mean, it wasn't a very good game at all. It just sucked. In the end though, Digimon World got mediocre scores from reviewers at the time, for a good reason. It was a bad game that was targeted towards a very narrow audience, those who were hardcore Digimon fans, and those who wanted a VPET-based RPG. But hey, who am I to judge? It's one of the most popular games for the PS1 on Game FAQs, beating out numerous games that appear on top 10 PS1 game lists. This is due to the fact that, well, lots of Digimon fans played this game as kids and think it's the best thing ever because of their memories of it. It's called nostalgia, and it's not a good thing. especially since it can hold series back. However, it's also a quick and easy way of making money. Just look at how much hype Sega generated when Sega got a bunch of Sonic fans to make their new Sonic game, Sonic Mania, and it's coming out soon, and it's gonna get lots of money due to the fact that it's another 2D Sonic game. Bandai Namco is aware of this too, and that's why lately the trend with Digimon games has been to make Digimon games that target the older Digimon fans, many whom have nostalgia for it, with games such as sequels to the first Digimon World, and a video game adaptation of Adventure. After all, Digimon has a cult following to the point where unlocalized games have even gotten fan translations, and just recently Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth was not only localized, but it was even ported to the PlayStation 4 for a Western release. And surprisingly, it was a great game. While it did have some issues, it was probably the best Digimon game released, and probably one of the few that nailed the feeling of the TV series in game form, and it could possibly be worked into a good OVA or series. However, the Digimon game released right before Cyber Sleuth was not localized, but fans decided to make their own fan translation patch and release it. This game was Digimon World ReDigitize, and it started the trend of targeting older Digimon fans. The gameplay was influenced heavily by Digimon World 1, however, the game now featured character designs by Suzito Yasuda, I think that's how you pronounce his name, best known for doing character design for Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor for the Nintendo DS. You can only polish a turd so much though, and this is why I was wary going into ReDigitize. It's like taking a professional producer with lots of gold records on his wall, or one you really admire, and then having them produce a trashy album for you, or an album that's the same as every other pop album. It's still a trashy album, but hey, it has good production at least. This is why I went into ReDigitize with very low expectations, and well, is it any good? Let's find out. Now first, let's start the review off by mentioning something every game should do. Hook you. You see, for a game to keep the player engaged, it has to hook them, giving them a reason to spend their valuable time playing this game instead of, selling the game to GameStop, deleting it, or playing another game entirely and forgetting you even have said game. The game first comes at you with an anime intro, which is both a reference to the original Digimon World's intro, complete with a kid entering an empty apartment through an elevator and being sucked into the digital world, and numerous other Digimon video games and media, which involve someone entering the digital world with their internet-connected PC due to a glitch in the system. The storyline is just like Digimon World 1, but with a lot more flash to it. You end up in File Island City, and apparently Digimon are fleeing the city and going crazy, and it's your job to bring them back and save the city. And then once you actually start to play the game, it all goes downhill from there once you experience the gameplay. At first, if you came into this game based on the hype this game was getting from Digimon fans, you'd be thinking it's Pokemon mixed with Shin Megami Tensei. But no, that all falls apart once you experience this game's, quote, gameplay. The gameplay removes most control from the player, allowing you to only use special attacks and items. There's no sense of control, and in turn this means that there's no satisfaction or entertainment from winning, just frustration when you lose and it's out of your control. You might as well mute gameplay from this game and put the Benny Hill theme or a random MIDI file you found online over this game. Battles are frustrating, especially since a lot of it is randomness, and you mostly have to sit back and watch the Digimon play the game for you. When your MP stat runs out, your Digimon does nothing but run in the corner and away from the enemy. It's like trying to watch someone use a PC infested with 12 toolbars, or like your parents playing Call of Duty for the first time, or like a teenager driving a stick for the first time. As you progress, you get to unlock more battle options. However, you still get nowhere near as much control as you would in a true RPG. Keep in mind, Digimon World ReDigitize is first and foremost a V-Pet simulator that tries to dress up as an RPG. While Digimon World 1 felt empty and barren, ReDigitize has an RPG-style main town complete with NPCs and more music. It's like seeing a fast food joint pretend they're a sit-down restaurant, or like Mountain Dew pretend there's some fine craft soda with Mountain Dew Black Label. The menus are unintuitive compared to the easy-to-use menus of Cyber Sleuth, and I kept looking for items in the menus when I had to look there. There doesn't seem to be an easy map button, and in the corner there is no mini-map, just a compass. This was probably one of the worst choices this game could have made, as it does not hook regular non-Digimon fans and get them interested in the franchise, and instead it narrows the game's target audience down to only hardcore Digimon fans who played the original and who want a new game that features fan service, references, and the same exact original gameplay. You couldn't give this game to someone who has never watched Digimon before and get them interested in the franchise, unlike with Cyber Sleuth or even some of the older RPGs before the newest one. The graphics in this game are acceptable. They're not the best, but you have to remember this was a PSP, and the PSP was state-of-the-art for a handheld gaming system. In 2004, ReDigitize was a late lifespan PSP title being released in 2012, and this shows in some ways, such as the fact that it has an installation option, which many later PSP titles featured, and the fact that it has a control for the camera that uses the D-pad. All in all, ReDigitize is a waste of time. Don't bother playing this game. Save up and buy Cyber Sleuth if you want an actual Digimon game that's good and fun to play. Maybe wait until they make another Digimon story game too, and that's all that needs to be said. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more.